Hey folks, it's Nate. Thanks for joining me once again as we look to the horizon. Today, we're back with another writing project vlog, and it's a bit of a scattershot again. We're not going to talk about any one thing too much, but the big project, Burning Bright. We are at page 63. For those keeping score at home, we were at page 54 last week, so that means I got about 9 pages done today. There's a bunch of reasons for that. The biggest one was that I had to work a bunch of overtime, probably 3 days of overtime, and that took a little bit of a chunk out of my schedule for writing. I didn't get quite as much done in the evenings as I wanted either, partly because on Monday and Tuesday I was working to catch up on a script writing project I was working on with the modded team. And if you want more information about that, I will direct you to a live stream I did with that team over the weekend. So I didn't have as much time to work on this as I really wanted to, but I am still ahead. I planned on being around page 60 at this point, and I am around page 63. And I'm actually on page 63. So I'm not doing too bad. I'm a little bit ahead. I would like to be a little more ahead. My goal for next week is page 75. I think that's a reasonable goal. I've managed to do 12 pages in a week a couple of times already, and I think that will be manageable and put me well past the halfway point, which is actually, I think I have hit the halfway point of the story already. So I think we are going to hit just about 120 pages handwritten exactly. So good stuff there. I am looking forward to getting this done and starting to redraft it. I don't think I'm going to have to do as much redrafting as I've done in the past. I have a much firmer idea of what I want the ending to be and how we are going to build to that than I have had in some other stories, specifically Firespinner, where I did have to redraft a couple of the early chapters pretty extensively to reflect changes that were coming in the end. And I feel good about having less redrafting to do because that will let me get this thing finished and set off to test readers much faster. I also feel good about it because it means I will get to my next project faster. So what is my next project? I'm not 100% sure yet. I'm still working on the notes and setting notes and outline for Everybody Wants to Laugh. That is coming along. But I think that's going to be a back burner project that I kind of work on as I have free time in amongst my other projects right now. I think my next project is going to be The Gospel According to Earth. And I've wanted to write that for probably the last 6 months, but I haven't had enough of the pieces to really feel confident in telling that story yet. And I think I'm getting there. I think by the time I have all of this drafted and redrafted and edited, I will be ready to address that. And I am not sure exactly how long that process is going to take. I haven't even put together any bullet point outlines yet. I don't know if it will be longer than the previous books or about the same length. I think it's actually going to be probably about the same length as Schrodinger's book. I don't think it's going to be as long as Martian Scriptures was. And I hope that I will be able to wrap it up by March of next year. That's my current trajectory. And I've had that on the back burner so long. I am a little nervous about diving straight into it. So my current plan is to go back and do a revision of Martian Scriptures after I finish my second draft of Burning Bright. That way I can have some of the characters and a lot of the setting information fresh in my mind. And I will probably reread Schrodinger's book. I don't know if I will completely redraft it, or I will, as I tend to do when I reread my own work, I will make, of course, basic editorial changes as I go along. But I don't think that I am going to try and redraft that. I feel pretty good about the place it was at after I finished my final draft of it that I published on my blog. What was that? 3 years ago now? Sounds about right. But it is pretty distant in the mind, so I am going to have to do a good reading of that, and whatever editorial work I find necessary, I will also do. And then I think that I will do a redrafting, as I said, of Martian Scriptures before I really dig too deeply into that. I don't know if I'm going to make the redrafting process a subject of my weekly writing vlogs. I find that I don't have a whole lot to say about the stuff I do in my own redrafting. I find that feedback I get from test readers has a lot of interesting things to talk about in it, but stuff I see on my own typically does not. I don't know why that is. I think it's just the addition of an extra perspective gives me a little more to say. But I will be talking about development for Everyone Wants to Laugh, and I may be talking about outlining and basic world building work for Fire and Gold, which is going to be the next Roy Harper story, and will be my fiction project for after The Gospel According to Earth is done. I'm also thinking of going through some of my old blog posts on writing and redrafting them, and perhaps I will record those as videos on writing and put them on my other channel, Art Table Talk. I haven't decided if I'm going to do that for sure yet, but it is something that is in the back of my mind. I've said a lot already about what I think about the art of writing, and I think it would be worthwhile to go back and look at some of that and see if I still agree with it now that I'm a much more experienced author. So those are kind of the writing projects that are on my table right now. As usual, I have a lot of them, and I think that it's important to go back and look at prose you have written before and really go over it with a fine-tooth comb. Once it gets to be a certain age, I don't know as it's good to re-engage with it storytelling-wise. For example, the best short story I think I've ever written is called Emergency Surface, and I have no desire to go back and redraft that, although it would probably benefit from a redrafting, given how old it is. I think it's better to let it stand as a testament to my writing style at the time and the ideas I was engaged with at the time, and I have reread it in the last few years, and I think it holds up pretty well as a short story. Not necessarily as an introduction to a cast of characters and a larger series, which is kind of what I was thinking of it as at the time, but it functions well enough on its own. And I think redrafting that would be a loss, but redrafting something like Martian Scriptures, which is quite recent, and more importantly, is the foundation for the next story that I intend to tell, has a lot of value because there are still things to add and adjust there as I go forward into the next story. In particular, an idea that I dropped in once, kind of as just a simple world building element in that book, is going to become a little more important now that I'm thinking about The Gospel According to Earth. So I do want to maybe play that up a little bit more. And these are the things that I think redrafting should be aimed at, not at completely reworking a story to make it better. A lot of times you have to accept that you can't wander into the sunk cost fallacy in telling a story. You're going to reach a point where you have put as much time into the story as it makes sense to put into the story, and you need to move on to the next project or you're never going to get there. That is a fine line, and you will find it more through experience than through any kind of hard and fast rule. But I think that for the most part, with most of the fiction I've done, I am past that point now. And it's only a few stories, the Roy Harper adventures in general, and these the last Triad World novel that I think I can really still add something of value for the time I am investing by revising and redrafting it. Anyway, that's what I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed those thoughts. Let me know what you think of the revising and drafting process down in the comments if you have any thoughts at all. There is a like button and a subscribe button there you can use as you see fit, and I will talk to you later.